Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm so glad that I was able to figure this out. So I'm streaming live on 3 different platforms and I'm feeling super cyber. My name is Crispina French and I am a textile recycling artist, entrepreneur, and activist. And my passion is to shine a light on fast fashion and really encourage people to think twice about supporting that part of our world and really think about how we each have the power to actually manifest some pretty significant global change in textile waste and use our purchasing power and our creativity and our connections to each other to reduce the vast amount of textile waste. A fact that you might not have heard is that recently in the United States, where I live in Western Massachusetts, textile waste has surpassed in volume plastic waste. So when you're thrift store shopping or you're mending or you're buying a really good quality piece of clothing, you're actually doing so much to address that. So keep that in your mind when you're thinking about augmenting your wardrobe. And also think about how when you purchase something new, and this is just actually a recent sort of aha for myself. When I'm purchasing something new, like I need a new pair of running pants. And honestly, I buy running pants that are new. I don't thrift store shop for them. I'm going to buy a pair of running pants that are brightly colored because I really like to recycle brightly colored clothing. And the running pants that I've always worn for the last 20 years are black. And black is not really a color that I would choose to work with if I had options. So I'm thinking about the new things that I buy supporting my creativity and my recycling. So every Thursday right here live, I do what I call Thrifty Thursday with Crispina. And I am going to today talk about Potholder Rugs. These are, if you've been around a little bit, you've probably heard a little bit about Potholder Rugs. This is actually a chair pad. And this chair pad is made from recycled socks. And I have to tell you that these are not all from my household. They're not all single socks from people's laundry baskets, but they are from a friend of mine's sock business. He retired and he was left with a whole ton of sample socks that he had given, that had been used by his sales team, and the socks that were singles or had been, they weren't usable. So I got a hold of all of these socks and I made up some samples to show you guys how awesome is this. This is I actually started making the size Potholder Rug as a chair pad, but later realized that you can make this as a component and build much larger rugs using this as one section, almost kind of like a rug quilt, if you will, where you kind of stitch these together into a larger room size rug if that's what you're after. They're also super comfortable to sit on. They're actually, if you have a metal chair and you work in a cold environment in the wintertime, that layer of wool kind of blend fabric really keeps your whole body warm. So they're comfortable for sitting. They're great for kids. If you have a classroom, if you're a teacher and you have a place where the kids sit down, rather than having everybody on one rug, maybe that's a little too close still with COVID, you can make these, you can actually even make them in your classroom and have each kid have their own little private classroom rug. So there it is again. That's the chair pad made with, this is what I'm calling my bright mix of the socks. So there's actually 3 different mixes. I sorted all the socks into 3 different kind of colorations. So this is the kind of brightest one. And then there's a darker blend like this. It's all menswear, kind of, chocolate browns, blacks, navy blues, some grays mixed into it to kind of builds a really rich, kind of nice neutral background color for any kind of bright interior. And then, here's a larger one of the colorful mix. This is like a bath mat size rug. So you can see it's pretty consistent. The coloration is pretty consistent. And then we have the third coloration, which is this neutral kind of whites, grays, heathery colors, tans. There's a little bit of like pastel yellows and blues and pinks mixed in to make that pop a little bit. And the reason why I'm talking about all of this is because I think that potholder rugs are just a really amazing tool to use for our global textile waste crisis. So they're really, I mean, if you've ever made a potholder on a little frame loom when you were a kid or even as an adult, it's the same process. I teach a course on making beautiful potholder rugs, but honestly, if you're crafty, you can figure it out. The course is awesome if you like want to build community and you really want to have like the most beautiful potholder rug right out of the gate. But if you're a crafty, experimenting kind of person, you can make them just right, you know, get started on your own. And you can, there's all sorts of ways to do that. I sell looms and I sell loom kits right in my shop. And if you're, if you want to build your own loom, I sell a little video teaching you how to make your own loom. But the most incredible thing about the potholder rugs, and actually, you know, this is a really good example because these are, like I said, made from discarded socks. They can be made from clothing that's not wearable. So there's this sort of thing that you have to kind of balance in your mind when you start working with recycled textiles. Initially, when I started doing my work back in 1987, I would go to thrift stores and buy clothing that was, you know, for sale in the thrift store. And at the time, I was recycling pretty much solely wool sweaters. I just want to look. I made potholders on a loom when I was a kid, and I loved it. It said made by Lauren B. I'm so fascinated with the process and the adapting of recycled materials. Awesome. I'm so glad you said that, Lauren. And I'm so glad that you're here. And I think that I'm going to share a little story with you guys. So the idea of buying wearable clothing from the thrift store to recycle has a little bit of like irony to me, because one of the things you need to consider is that there's a lot of people in the world who shop at thrift stores because it's the only option they can afford. So when you're buying clothing at a thrift store, you're to recycle, just keep that in mind and see if there's ways that you can support the people who need that kind of price range available to them and with good quality clothing. So, you know, my kind of, I buy material at thrift stores to recycle, and I'm not going to tell you that I don't, but the first place I look for materials is at in places where either they're not being recycled currently or they're not wearable. So like potholder rugs can be made with clothing that's got holes or stains or is just like a fashion faux pas or just something that is not useful for whatever reason, you know, in whatever way. So this process, you can use clothing that's actually not wearable. And I encourage you to seek out that material before you buy. You know, I augment what the materials that I find in other places with thrift store shopping. And you can also, if you have a local thrift store that you can work with, you can ask them about the materials that they're not able to resell. What happens to that material? And, you know, maybe you can even arrange to purchase material from them that they would normally be throwing away, building a new stream of revenue for that thrift store. And most thrift stores, in my experience, are places that support people in need, whether, I mean, first off, with their merchandise, right? People who don't have a lot of money can afford to buy nice quality clothing in a thrift store, you know, hopefully. And then they also support, like a lot of times thrift stores employ people who are, you know, developmentally disabled or have issues that are greater than what we are mostly dealing with. So great to support those businesses in any way that you can, and building a new stream of revenue for that kind of a store would mean a lot for them, I think. So if you're interested in making one of these awesome potholder rugs, I have boxes of the socks I boxed up and I have them for sale in my shop, which is, I'll put it in the comments, but these are the socks. And can you see this one's got like a little pattern to it? It's a little dark, so it's hard to see, but let me see. I got some brighter colored ones. Here's another one. So the socks are, you know, they're all single socks, and actually most of the boxes, I bet if you surfed through there, you'd find yourself some pairs of socks if you want to wear them before you recycle them. They're going to be for sale in my shop. I'm doing a giant like unveiling of like all the new merchandise that I've been compiling, and on Thursday before Memorial Day. So if you, it's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I have a lot of those, a lot of socks available. Let me just put, I'm going to type my website address into the chat or the comments here. And that's on, I'm sorry, that's on Facebook and YouTube. So Instagram, if you go to my profile, my little bio, you'll find my website, and you can just click on the shop navigation to find the place to purchase the socks. They are either, you can buy them either whole, or I did cut a bunch of them into loops. And these Thursday sessions are going to switch gears a little bit to be a little bit more tutorial. So I had a lot of people ask me, how do you make this sock into a potholder rug? And of course, you need to have a potholder rug loom. And you can either, like I said earlier, you can either build one yourself or purchase a loom or a loom kit from my website. And you can, you know, I mean, honestly, the first potholder rug loom that I ever made, I made out of canvas stretchers and finishing nails. And, you know, you make a frame and you bang your nails in all the way around the edge, and poof, you've got a potholder rug loom. And you can mess around with it and kind of devise how it's going to work best for you after you try it out a little bit. Maybe get yourself some more sturdy nails. Finishing nails tend to bend a little bit and they're not the best, but certainly a good way to get started, especially if you already have them. So in order to make a sock into loops, people are asking that about that a lot, is you just have to, I'm going to hold this sock up because it's easier to see, but so you just have to think about like what you want to do is you want to create loops that reach across your loom, right? So if anybody's out there who out there has made a potholder in their life, pop it in the comments, let me know. Have you made a potholder on a potholder rug loom? All right. And I'm sorry, not a rug loom, but on a potholder loom. This is the kind of style. Of course, I feel like sometimes I feel like a little tiny fairy, because this is, if this was just actually like the size of a potholder in your kitchen, and I was like this tiny little person holding up your potholder. But I'm not actually a fairy. I'm actually a full-size person. So if you are familiar with this making process, the way that it works is you run a loop clear across your loom, right? I see a yes. I see, who else is out there? Who's made a potholder? I see some waving going on over here. I see, oh, yay. Okay, how do you make the loops with the socks? There you go. It's beautiful. Oh, I'm so glad you like it. So the trick to making loops out of socks is you cut them across. So you would just cut right across here, and then you would have a loop. See, so it's like, you know, a circle. And you cut them all the way down, and then you just cut, when you get to the toe, you just either snip off a very little tiny piece of that, or you can even just make a slit in that last one to create a loop. And then when you want to load your loom up, you're going to take your loops that you've cut that are all kind of little because they're socks, and you kind of loop them together and together and together, and you make a long line of them and use them right on your loom. So this is the magical knot right here. You loop them together just like that. Okay, and then you could loop a third, fourth, fifth, however many you need. So it's super easy. It's a great way. And honestly, I have to tell you, I have used up all the single socks in my household this way. And it's so rewarding to like take that. We have like a grocery store like canvas bag that we throw all our single socks in when we do laundry. Does anybody else do that? Do you separate them out? What do you do with your single socks? Some people don't care. I'm like super anal. I don't know why, but like my feet just feel better if I have matching socks on. So, yeah, I'm one of those, like, if there's one place in my life that I become anal, it might be with my socks. So we put them all in this canvas bag as we go through the laundry, and then, you know, we dump it out every time there's a load and match up the ones we can. And there's always, and I don't know what the hell what the hell is going on with the other ones? Where do they go? I don't know. So every once in a while, I'll say, okay, this sock has been in this canvas bag for so long that I am going to cut it up and make it into a potholder rug. And there's something so like, freeing to me about that. So if you are in the market that to try that out and make yourself a rug like one of these that I showed on this session, like I said, Thursday, and I should have looked at the date. Actually, I'm going to look at the date right now. On Thursday, a week from today, so that'll be on the 27th, 1 week from today at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my shop will open. And you got to get there quick because stuff sells really fast when I do these updates on my shop. And there's a good amount of socks. Like I think that they'll be around for a little bit. I don't think they'll sell out immediately, but they make the best rugs. And if you can make a small rug like this if you want to, and you can make I have them actually boxed up in volumes that make, like, this rug takes 5.5 pounds of socks, and then that smaller little chair pad rug that I was showing you guys earlier. Hold on, I'll find it way down here at the bottom of my stack of rugs. This one takes about 2.5 pounds. So you can buy just what you need to make this size piece. And then there's a third size that's bigger that takes more. And so you can buy whatever volume you'd like. And you don't have to search anywhere for your materials. And you can rest assured that those would certainly have wound up in the landfill or at the incinerator without us salvaging them and turning them into something that's, like, I don't know, like, there's something so gratifying and, like, awesome about these rugs. If you're not familiar, like, look how thick they are. And they're just like the cushiest, most comfortable place to stand. Like, I have one in front of my sink when I do dishes. It's like, at the end of the day, my feet are tired, but I'm standing on that rug. It's almost like a little foot massage. And the other thing I should share with you is two things. When my kids were little, I had them in their bedrooms, like in their nurseries, and they're the most brilliant way, like, kids who are learning to walk, like my kids were all very tall. And so when they were walking, they were like, ooh, like learning how to kind of center of gravity thing. They would fall down all the time. And, like, to fall on this nice, thick, cushy rug kept the crying to a minimum, kept the bumps and bruises to a minimum. And really, I don't know, there's no chemicals. There's no of that, like, awful smell that you get with a commercial room, wall-to-wall carpeting. This is like, you can make these like room-sized, and they're just so awesome. So somebody asked me, are these difficult to wash since they are so thick? If they're small, you can put them in a washing machine, but you can also, those places that you can rent the steam cleaners, like we have them at our grocery store in our area. It's like a rug beater, but it has a steaming aspect to it as well. These clean up like so beautifully that way. So if they're like big, like a room-sized rug, that's what I recommend. You can dry clean them, although I have to say dry cleaning is super toxic. Like, even, I don't know, the green, the eco dry cleaning, I think is really expensive. But you can dry clean them if you must. But I recommend steam cleaning them, washing them in a washing machine if they fit. You can actually wash them, like, if you have a deck or somewhere like outdoors where there's air circulation, you can just hose them down and scrub any kind of soiling that's happening. Flip them over. It takes a little bit for them to dry because they are very thick, so they are kind of absorbent. So they're not difficult to wash. They're actually pretty easy care, compared to most rugs. Like, I don't know, the other carpets I have in my home are I clean them all the same way. Yeah, and Karen Miller, thanks for not wanting to dry clean anything. That's really big. And that, you know, when we were kids, or when I was a kid, I don't know you, Karen, but I'm imagining that you might remember that, you know, I'm 55 years old, and when I was a kid, everybody gets stuff dry cleaned like every week. Like my grandmother used to have her cleaning out in the hallway. The guy would come, pick it up, and, you know, drop off last week's batch, and it was like standard practice. So the fact that that has really changed is we're making change. We're making change. It's like I like to call myself an environmental optimist, because I know that humans are so powerful and we have the ability to make amazing things happen. And being here with you guys today makes me just know that we are on the right track. So I'm going to sign off now, you guys. I don't want to keep you too long, but every Thursday at noontime, Eastern Standard Time, 15, 20 minutes, sometimes we go 25 minutes of just cool, fun, textile recycling ideas, little tutorials, you know, whatever comes. If you have questions about things you've seen me do or make that you'd like answered live, I'm happy to do that as well. And before I sign off, I just want to run through and see. I'm seeing a few comments over here. Let's see. I'm quite chemically sensitive and do a lot of thrift store shopping, but have to air out my purchases for months. Do you find the residual smell of detergents, dryer sheets bothersome? I don't personally. It doesn't chemically bother me. I do notice it, and I find it to be kind of gross. It doesn't, you know, as far as like, I'm not allergic to it or anything like that, but there's a couple things that I've just learned lately. First of all, it is really hard to get smells and odors out of synthetic fabrics. Okay, if it's like a acrylic, nylon, polyester, any kind of synthetic, I have not had 100% success removing like any like whatever. I don't want to call name brands out, but you know, smelly deodorant, detergents that are just like, oof, or dryer sheets. Dryer sheets are really not good for you, by the way. I just learned about an ionizing machine, and it's like I don't know that much about it. I just was reading about it like 2 days ago. There's some kind of an additional thing that you can add to your sewing machine. I can speak sometimes. It does not have anything to do with sewing machines. It has to do with washing machines. So it's called an ionizing, I don't know, it's like it's an add-on to a washing machine. And it makes the water lift the you know, dirt and grime out of your clothing, including odors and any kind of like residual, like sometimes there's like even like a texture that the dryer sheets leave behind. It's supposed to lift all of that stuff out using ozone. And ozone is not that great for you, but from what I've read, the machine that I'm talking about turns the ozone back into oxygen as part of its process. So look it up and see if you can learn anything about that. The one I looked at was like a couple $100, and it was something that you were able to like either add to the water line. I don't know. I need to learn more. I will learn more, and I'll be able to share that with you more next week. But Laurel, if that is helpful, maybe that is helpful. I've also heard that if you soak your stuff that's a little stinky in a mixture of, you know, whatever kind of biodegradable detergent that you use, if it's unscented or, you know, with a natural like essential oil scent, a little bit of white vinegar and some just warm water, just let it soak, even like let it soak overnight, that is supposed to really help with the with getting the odors out. There are some odors that I find like really like mothballs. Like the more you wash something that has been stored in mothballs, the worse it smells, in my experience. So keep that in mind and steer clear of the mothballs. They're super gross. So let's see what else. Anything else? I think I got it. You guys are awesome. Stay awesome. Be awesome out there, and I'll see you next Thursday. Thanks so much for joining me today. Take it easy. Let's see. Boink.